Colin King.
Move that the question be now put.
I'll hear Grant Robertson.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Sad that the contributions from members of the committee and the Select Committee on the other side of the House have been so limited today, because they heard the same submissions that we did on this side of the House. Mr Chair, I want to come to a couple of matters that haven't been covered yet by speakers, and in particular I want to talk about Clause 9 of the bill, which talks about training contracts and apprenticeship training agreements to be part of employment agreements. And I want to mention that in this stage of the debate because it was raised as a concern by a number of submitters who came to the committee that we would be limiting in some way or other the ability of people who were volunteers or people who were contractors from being able to be part of apprenticeship training or industry training in some way or other. I want to make sure it's on the record of the House that officials were very clear with us that that was not the case, that there was no limitation here. What it effectively meant was whatever the employment arrangements that are in place with an employee, is where we will find the arrangements for training. That's essentially what they said. And it's very important, Mr Chair, because a number of industry training organisations appeared before the committee who are involved in the training of both volunteers and contractors. Right. We heard from the primary industry training organisation about where there are a large number of contractors within that industry who have very important training needs, health and safety type training needs, but broader training needs as well. This bill still allows for the training to be a component of the agreement that they have to perform that task. Equally among volunteers, and there's actually some very important work being done in terms of search and rescue training at the moment, which involves volunteers, and we would not want a piece of legislation to unintentionally pass this House that would some way or other limit the ability of those people to get that training. We have been assured that the Clause 9, new Clause 3, does not do that, and I wanted to make sure that that was on the record of the House. The other area that caused quite a lot of controversy from the submitters was around the role of NZQA alongside industry training organisations, covered in numerous clauses in the bill, but the one that I want to refer to is the one that the committee amended, and that is Clause 16, which is new Clause 13 in the Act, and in particular the expanded role that NZQA has in the heading of 13B is Qualifications Authority may prescribe quality assurance requirements. This caused a concern. There was a feeling among ITOs that NZQA already had a fairly stringent oversight of ITOs, and that this would move that from the quality of the training that was being arranged and the quality of the standards that were being set, more to the point, to the governance. And why should NZQA have that increased role? And the committee picked up on this concern, and I want to pay tribute to the chair of the committee, Cam Calder, because I think he picked up on this concern particularly. And the new Clause 13Bs have been amended by the Select Committee, and it is to ensure that the ability of industry training organisations to acquire and maintain qualifications approval for programs and schemes, qualifications authority consent to assess students, and that all of this happens, the governance arrangements for this can only be part of NZQA's work where it is relevant to those skills standards and that organisation of training. So it's not carte blanche for NZQA to wade into an ITO and say, we think you've got the wrong number of people on the board, or we want to change the governance arrangements, but rather that where it is relevant to the skill setting, to the standard setting and to the organisation of training, then that can be a matter which NZQA is interested in. From our point of view on the Labor Party side of the House, and I think this goes for the Green and New Zealand First parties as well, that satisfied us that the concerns that were being raised about NZQA's role had been met. None of us want NZQA to be overreaching here to making life more difficult for industry training organisations. But what we do want, as taxpayers who are paying money for industry training to be organised and skill standards to be set, to know that that money has been well spent. And NZQA does have an important role in that. So we want to maintain that role without increasing it and enhancing it. I thought it was important, Mr Chair, to make sure that those 2 points, given that government members seem not to be interested in their own bill, were put on the table. Mr Chair, I wanted to return to a little bit more detail around the skills leadership function, because I think it's important, given that this is something that has been in place for more than 20 years now, that this role is there for it. Mr Chair, Mr Chair,
Jamie
Mr
Lee
Chair,
Ross.
Mr Chair, Mr Chair, Mr Chair.
The question is,
oh,
question
Mr
being
Chair.
output. Those of that opinion will say aye, contrary no. Party vote, the clerk will conduct a party vote. Point of order, Grant Robertson.
Speaker, I think there's a process here, and I'm not sure anyone had actually called for a party vote. There's a process that we go through, and
so the member doesn't want a party vote?
I do want a party vote,
well,
Mr Chair, but no, you didn't
now
actually ask for one. Well, no, point of order, Mr Chair.
Point of order, Grant Robertson.
Mr Chair, I don't want to be pedantic, but there is a process in this House for how we call for party votes, and I think it's important we stick to that process at all times, because if we vary from it, that can cause confusion. The process is that we say, in this case, we went one way, the opposite government went the other. You would normally then say, should there be a party vote? I just ask that we stick to the process.
Well, I acknowledge the member's point of view, and I acknowledge the energy that was put in to the no call, and I looked across and said party vote, and then proceeded to call it because I presumed that would be the case. And if it's caused offence, I apologise. But I think my perception was correct, that a party vote is required. And thank you. We will now have a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party.
14 votes opposed.
New Zealand First. Māori Party.
3 in favour.
Mana.
1 opposed.
Act New Zealand.
1 in favour.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Brendan Horan.
The ayes are 64, the noes are 56. I will put the questions, and there are 2 SOPs in the name of David Clendon. So the question is that David Clendon's amendment to Clause 11, inserting new section 7A, set out on SOP number 426, be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary no. The ayes have it. A party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First. Māori Party.
3 opposed.
Mana.
1 in favour.
Act New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
Brendan Horan.
The ayes 56, the noes are 64. The amendment is not agreed to. We move to the second amendment in David Clendon's name to Clause 15, repealing new section 11A set out on SOP number 426. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary no. The noes have it. A party vote will be conducted.
New Zealand National.
59 opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 in favour.
Māori Party.
3 opposed.
Mana.
1 in favour.
Act New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
Brendan Horan.
Ayes are 56, noes are 64. The amendment is not agreed to. So the question is that part 1 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary no. The ayes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 opposed.
Green Party.
14 opposed.
New Zealand First.
7 opposed.
Māori Party.
3 in favour.
Mana.
1 opposed.
Act New Zealand.
1 in favour.
United
1
Future.
in favour.
Brendan Horan.
Ayes are 64, noes 56. Part 1 will stand. Members, we come to the debate on Part 2, which is a debate on clauses 24 to 26, and the question is that Part 2 stand part.
Mr Chair.
Grant Robertson.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. Part 2